Meeting. I'm Chair Charlie Zelli, and I'm welcoming you to call this meeting to order this July 10th, 2024. Good to see everybody. We have a number of items of business, but no information items. So unless anybody objects, I will deem the agenda is approved. But we have minutes to consider from the meeting on June 26th. Is there a motion and a second to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, thank you. Any corrections, additions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, those minutes are approved. And now's the time when we offer interested persons an opportunity to address the council if they've pre-registered for items that are not on the agenda. And there are no pre-registered members of the public, so we will move on to the consent business agenda. Is there a motion and a second to approve the consent business items?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Those consent business items have been approved. On to reports from the standing committees. There are no reports on the Community Development Committee, no reports from the Environment Committee. There is from the Management Committee. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to bring before us business item 2024-165 for contract 23P088, a 5-year contract for appraisal valuation services council-wide. The proposed action is to authorize 9 contracts for valuation services. 2 DBE firms and all have a 4% goal. 7 of the firms are local and 2 are national firms with a local office. Real estate office supports all divisions in acquisition, disposition, and use of real estate. Statute and funding partners often require transactions to take place at market value. This contract assists in determining fair and equitable value for the real estate transactions. This contract replaces the last 5-year contract with 5 of 6 vendors renewing and adding 4 new vendors. In this contract, residential appraisers were invited to propose, and previously, large projects like Green Line and Gold Line had their own contracts. Funding comes from council-wide capital and operating budgets, and work orders will be issued for work when it arises. At the Management Committee meeting, there was discussion around the first-time use of DBE firms and goals under the efficiency of bringing all the work under one central contract, which is good for the council. This item has been reviewed and approved by the Management Committee on June 26th of this year. So, Mr. Chair, with that, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the Regional Administrator to negotiate and execute contracts 23P008A through 23P008I for appraisal services to support the acquisition, disposition, and valuation of real property for all divisions in an amount not to exceed $7.5 million.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion's carried. On to the Transportation Committee. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, council members, business item number 2024-135 regarding the approval of the amendment of contract with Hugland Bus for the purchase of an additional 140 replacement small buses for various MTS transit programs. MTS staff was able to negotiate the additional vehicles at the 2023 State of Minnesota contract pricing with the vendor and the manufacturer. All buses will be built by the end of the first quarter of 2025 and placed into service by the end of 2025. This purchase will replace vehicles that are past their useful life and bring the Metro Mobility fleet back to a state of good repair for the following transit services: Transit Link, Metro Move, Microtransit, and MTS fixed route service. Federal and local funds will be used for this project. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the Regional Administrator to execute an amendment to contract 23 23P239 with Haugland Bus to increase the number of bus purchases from 23 to 163, increasing the contract by $21,143,001 for a cumulative not to exceed amount of $25,417,817.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, just as a point of clarification, I think this appears as the second item on the agenda, so,
Oh,
but that's okay.
sorry, yep. My apologies.
No, I just want to make sure everybody's tracking.
Yep.
So with that, any discussion, any questions? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? All right, that motion carried, which was 2024-135.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'm eagle eyes here.
That was a good catch.
All four of those.
There you go. All right, on to the one that was supposed to be first. Mr. Chair, council members, business item number 2024-134 is regarding the approval of an amendment to a contract with North Central Bus for the purchase of an additional 179 Metro Mobility replacement buses and 2 buses for Maple Grove Transit. MTS staff was able to negotiate the additional vehicles at the 2023 State of Minnesota contract pricing with the vendor and the manufacturer. All buses will be built by the end of the first quarter of 2025 and placed in service by the end of 2025. This purchase will replace the vehicles that are past their useful life and bring the Metro Mobility fleet back to a state of good repair. Also, this one, the federal and local funds will be used for this project. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorizes the regional administrator to execute an amendment to contract 23P238 with North Central Bus to increase the number of buses purchased from 16 to 197, increase the contract by $28,638,764 for a cumulative not to exceed amount of $31,117,724.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. Any discussion, questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? That motion carried. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, council members, business item number 2024-163 is for the procurement of 73 biodiesel 40-foot buses from Gillig LLC. This procurement is utilizing contract 19P122 that was council authorized business item 2021-26 in February of 2021, which was for 26 base buses and 149 optional buses. This request will utilize the options section of that contract. This procurement aligns with the zero emissions bus transition plan for 20% of our 40-foot replacement buses to be procured with electric propulsion. 20 40-foot buses are being procured, 12 under the 2023 low-no flow grant, 8 under 2021 low-no flow grant. Funding for this procurement is included in the 2024 budget amendment second quarter adjustment that we just recently passed. Therefore, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute contract 19P122E with Gillig LLC to purchase 73 40-foot buses for the council's regular route service in an amount not to exceed $62,982,481.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion's carried. Thanks so much. We have no joint reports, but we do have one. This is kind of a clarification other business resolution. Councilmember Lilligren.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair, and thanks for putting this on the agenda. Kind of shorter notice. And so, council members, this is an action to adopt Resolution 2024-09. It's item number 2024-185. This is around property disposition in the Family Affordable Housing Program. As you know, we own 154 housing units under the Family Affordable Housing Program. Staff came to Community Development Committee several times to discuss selling some of these units that no longer meet the program needs. And just so council members know, we are discussing the possibility of acquiring properties that do meet the program needs. The Community Development Committee and the council approved the disposition of 5 units at the March 21st and April 13th, 2022 meeting, so we've already acted on this. Staff have been working since then to gain approval of funders, including the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and we now have that approval. Staff has accepted an offer for 1 unit, and the title company is requiring a resolution as part of the sale. So as we've already acted on these, we didn't bring it back through the committee process. We thought we would be able to just bring it here to satisfy the request of the title company. So, Mr. Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council adopt Resolution 2024-09, authorizing the disposition of 5 family affordable housing program units as outlined in the business item. The Community Development Division Executive Director can negotiate and execute all agreements and documents required to complete the sale and disposition of the 5 properties, and that the Community Development Division Executive Director can negotiate and execute all agreements and documents required to complete the purchase of replacement properties.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And I really appreciate that this is all, in concept, has already been passed, but this is really approving and advancing a resolution which is acceptable to the title company. With that, any other questions, discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carried. Councilmember Vento.
Yeah, this is, I'm going to tag on to Councilmember Lilligren since he's the chair of CDC. Those of us that were talking prior to the meeting, were talking personally about the experiences we're having with insurance. And as I've been sitting here, there was an article in the Star Tribune this morning about insurance rates and the extraordinary amount of problems that are occurring as a result of hail, some of which was falling in the Twin Cities as we arrived here. I'm interested in knowing what we need to know as a council about its impact on our transit system, as well as affordable housing, and what it's doing to the cost for both those entities, and possibly even for the parks, and frankly for environmental services. We've got facilities all over the place, and it would be interesting to know what kinds of issues we may be facing as these weather events continue to become more serious. The quote I remember from the article was that hail damage is more expensive than tornado damage. So.
Well, thank you, Councilmember, and I can only speak, we all have our own individual stories, not just my roof that was replaced, but if I looked at all the, just driving around, the number of roofs, it probably really adds up. I'm not sure we're going to get an answer today, and I don't think you expect that.
Mr. Chair,
but-
Looking for it for today.
But let's just make a note and ask NEFIS for environmental services, and I see Brian at the end, we won't ask you to come
Mr.
up,
Chair,
but.
and we'll work with Phil because through insurance, all of that stuff, is negotiated through. And I know Phil, just in his due diligence, even on our transit projects that he's been explaining to me, is quite intense. So we'll make sure that either through CDC or maybe through management, we get an update on where all that's at, because he's monitoring insurance across the council on everything.
Thanks, sorry to throw that in.
Question, no.
No,
Hey,
it's a great question.
Great question, thank you, yeah. Councilmember Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple of quick things. First of all, everyone check your email. You should get invites from Sophia Guinness. If you heard me talking before, I know the Transportation Committee members have that we were going to start arranging some tours to get out into the transit system. And so the tours include a chance to ride BRT on the CRD line, local routes, and to see Metro Transit Micro in action. As the Transportation Committee Chair, I'm really going to encourage you all to try and attend one or both of them. They are on Thursday, July 25th and Monday, July 29th. I plan to do the one on the 29th. I have not seen Metro Transit Micro in action, so that is my goal that day. You're welcome to join me. I do believe, I think I saw that Councilmember Johnson's already signed up for that one. So definitely reach out to your community relations person, and if those days don't work, we'll try to find some additional ones in the future, but we'd love to have you join us for those. Also, you heard in our Blue Line update on Monday that the public hearings for the review of the SDEIS for the Blue Line extension are coming up. We have several council members who, along the route, who plan to attend, as well as Vice Chair Chambliss and Chair Zelli, as their schedules allow, but they are scheduled right now for Tuesday, July 16th at the North Point Conference Center in Minneapolis, and 1 week after that on Tuesday, July 23rd at the Brooklyn Park Library on Broadway. Again, reach out to your community relations person if you want to attend one or both of those, and they'll get you the information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really love the idea of touring active lines, not just visiting platforms, but actually riding transit. I know many do that in the normal course, but I think it's really, really valuable. And also there are tours now for the Kenilworth Tunnel, quite literally in the tunnel, which is, I encourage everybody who has an interest who will set that up. Councilmember Lidstrom.
Microtransit, I want to thank the great city of Lauderdale. They hosted myself and Michael Sund last evening, and we were talking about the microtransit expansion into Roseville this winter, and they were super jazzed about that, and they twisted our arms pretty heavily, did they not, Michael, on trying to see if that little route could go just dip into Lauderdale a little bit, south of Roseville. So anyways, we had a great conversation, and they're a small community, 2,000 people, and so we talked about transit, the H line coming along Como. We talked about Imagine 2050 and the comp plan and how that may be impacted for small communities and a wide variety of other things.
Great, great. Any other reports, questions from Councilmember Johnson?
So I know that this is in the works, and it feels like Ryan's already been here a couple of years at Met Council, and I know it's not been that, I mean, because you just already, you've hit the ground running, let me just.
Don't know if that's good or bad, but
It's like dog years or something like that, but,
Dog years. Put the dog.
no. It just also, at some point, it'd be really great to get people out into the burbs, especially for the Suburban Transit Association members, to kind of get a handle on what their systems are like. We continue to have really good conversations with the STA community. Councilmember Barber and I are doing our monthly meetings with the electeds, and I think that's been very effective at ironing out questions, issues, problems, and building trust. And then we recently were invited to I think a quarterly meeting that they have. So everybody kind of on the council who serves part of an STA community was part of that too, and I thought that went really well. So again, I just want to commend Councilmember Barber for really working hard on that. But with that said, it's a myriad of really what's going on out there, and they've all kind of got their own ideas about microtransit, and some are already working on it. And so just at some point in time, if anybody wants to take a look, maybe we could get out to some of our suburban providers too to better understand how it fits into the full picture for the whole region as we continue to bring transit to our consumers.
Sure, thanks.
So
Good call.
if we can get that scheduled, not in the near future, but just get it out there someday, it'd be great. I think they would appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Councilmember Carter.
And I just had a small information piece that I was wondering about. I know I was glad to see we're using the biodiesel buses, and there are a lot of different forms of biodiesel, and I was just wondering what forms our buses are capable of using. There's soy, there's corn, there's even vegetable. So I would just, are these versatile, or are we focusing on one? Because that has an impact on what's used in Minnesota.
Sure. And that's where we certainly get a lot of support from the agriculture community for these biodiesels. I don't know if we had that answer right this second, but.
No, not this second, but I
we'll
was
get
just
that
wondering.
for you. Yeah. Yeah. Any other quick back?
Yeah.
Councilmember Lindgren.
Thank you, Chair. And this may sound like a shameless plug for the work I do at my day job, but I guarantee you I'll tie it into the mechanism by the end. But I would like to invite anyone down to my place of work at Native American Community Development Institute tomorrow, 11:30 to 2. We're having a big open house block party. It's also our Four Sisters Farmers Market. So come on down, good music, prizes, food, and everything. And at the site we'll be at, we're within a block either direction of 3 significant Native capital projects that Met Council awarded Livable Communities Act transit-oriented development dollars. So you could see our money at work right there on the American Indian Cultural Corridor.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Any other shameless plug? I mean,
Oh, I have more.
Oh, don't get us started. We could be here all night.
Mr. Lindstrom.
Shameless plug for community development that hosted a session yesterday with Metro Cities. I tuned in. There was 68 people on the call from across the region, talking about density and Imagine 2050. So it was a super good turnout. So thank you, Metro Cities and Community Development, for pulling that together. I think it's one of 2
Yeah,
meetings.
another one coming up next
Another one
week.
coming up.
Yeah,
So
I hope you
it's probably
turn
not
up.
too late to sign up for that.
Correct.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing those with us, Brian.
I was going to share it during my update, so there you go.
Done.
Keep going. I only got 2 more on my update list. Can you get them?
Councilmember Vento's going to try.
This really isn't a shameless plug, but it's an acknowledgement of the passing of a very important person in our community and a former colleague of Councilmember Lindstrom's, Don Wise, who has been just remarkable in his work on Forever Green and the university's efforts to really transform farming in Minnesota. Just a great man. I had the opportunity to meet him once when he came to a Friends of the Mississippi River retreat, and he and a colleague of his gave a presentation on Kernza, which is a really interesting new product that would be fun if maybe someday I'll bring some Kernza treats and we can all have them. But I just wanted to acknowledge that, and I wanted to note that in this morning's Star Tribune, there was an article about camelina, another one of those Kernza-like products that are being promoted, and farmers are especially young farmers, are taking on the effort to grow that crop. The story is based in the lovely Chosin Valley, Chatfield, Minnesota, my hometown. So if you're subscribers to the Star Tribune, I recommend you read the article because it's pretty cool. A big part of this effort has to do with water and water preservation and doing what they can to avoid the kind of runoff that's caused water issues in many, many of our streams. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing. I was reading about Kernza today, yes. Any other reports? Mr. Regional Administrator.
Well, I got one
You've
done.
been here years, it seems.
Further quick updates, the chair and I will be, and council members and staff will be at the Carver County Board a week from next Tuesday. So that's our next conversation with the county, following on the heels of Dakota and Washington. Dakota and Washington. So this will be our third in the continued moving around and having conversations with our county partners. Excited to do that. And then just a good update that State Fair transit planning continues to come together well. Looks like an opportunity to continue to expand from where we were last year. You know, there's always, as you all know, constraints around available operators and balancing where we're at, but we're in a stronger place than we were a year ago in terms of where our hiring is at and our operations are at and what we're able to therefore provide. There'll be more rolling out as we get closer in partnership with the fair and other places, but just positive momentum. And, you know, we know it's an important event for Minnesotans everywhere to gather, and Metro Transit's going to be there as a part of that whole plan. So thank you.
Thank you. Beth Dooley is my friend, the chef, who's written these books that uses Kernza
And I've invested heavily in those cookbooks.
cookbooks. And sitting with us in his new capacity as Deputy General Chief Counsel.
Congratulations.
Any reports, Dan?
No reports.
What can we throw at him? Something.
Any legal questions that people would know? No. All right, so this was short, brief, but important meeting. I want to thank the council again for the time you spent on that more expanded committee of the whole special meeting on Monday. Stay tuned on all these conversations. Appreciate everything you've done, and we'll adjourn fairly early. We'll get home, because who knows when the next hailstorm is coming. So,